In this lab, you are going to learn how to configure and test a public load balancer and application gateway. Here is the scenario. Let's say that your organization has a public website and there is a request for you to load balance the incoming traffic requests across two different virtual machines. You also have another request to provide images and videos from different virtual machines. So what you can use to resolve these issues are for the incoming public requests so that virtual machines, that is two different virtual machines, can handle those requests. Azure Load Balancer is the ideal solution in Azure to resolve that. And for the second request, that is the one that requires that when the user needs images, one virtual machine will provide that. And if it's a video, another virtual machine will provide that. That is what Azure Load Balancer can actually give us. So in this lab, there are three tasks. The first task is for me to use a template to provision an infrastructure. So the purpose of this is that we are not going to provision the infrastructure from beginning. If you have followed my demonstrations in the AZ-900 that is already on my YouTube channel, and if you also follow this demonstration of 104 up to the last video, that is the videos on lab 5, you will know how to create some of these resources. For example, by now you should know how to create a virtual machine. By now you should know how to create virtual network. You should know how to connect your virtual machine to virtual network. You should know how to assign IP address to your virtual network. And also your virtual network, you should know by now that you have only one subnet by default, but you can add multiple subnets. By now you should know how to create or provision NSG. So all of these are what the template will give us in terms of the infrastructure that we need for this lab. So I will encourage you to check those videos, the one on the AZ-900 and the one on the AZ-104 up to the lab 5. Then task 2, I'll now go ahead and configure Azure Load Balancer, and in task 3, I'll go ahead and configure Azure Application Gateway. This is my Azure portal. I will now go to the task 1. In the task 1, I'm going to use a template to provision an infrastructure. So in this task, I'm going to use a template to deploy one virtual network, one network security groups, and virtual machines. Also, inside the virtual network, we are going to have 3 subnets and one virtual machine per subnet. So I'll go to the search and I'll look for templates. So I will click deploy a custom template. Then I will select build your own template in the editor. Now, there's a need for me to load files, right? I need to load the template and parameter files. Here is the template file. I need to load the template file here. But where can you find this template file? Where can you download the file? Now, Azure already made provision for these templates and some other sample files for this AZ-104. What you need to do is to go to GitHub. So I'm going to use this to go to GitHub. And once you get to GitHub, you are going to search for AZ-104. So I'll type AZ-104. Now press enter. Then this is the link that you are looking for. This is a Microsoft GitHub, and the AZ-104 is one of the information in the GitHub. So you can say Microsoft Learning slash AZ-104 Microsoft Azure Administrator. That's the link. So I'll click on that. And the purpose of that is to take me to where I can find information about AZ-104 files. That is information that I need. What I'm looking for is this all files. So you will see this button code. Just click the arrow and you see the options to download the zip files. Once you click on this, it will download a zip file into your system. And if you now go back now to the download uh, on your system, you're going to see something like this. It's going to be a compressed file, but this is going to be the name. Then you will need to now, decompress this file. It will now turn into what? A folder. And inside of it, you will see your files that you're actually looking for. For example, this is the all files, and in the all files you have the lab folders, and in the lab folders, these are the folders that are there. Like for example, lab 06 is where I am right now. So the parameters and the template files that I will load, this is the parameter file, this is the template file. So I'll go back now to my Azure portal. So I'll click load file, and right now it takes me directly to that portion where I can load the files. If you take note, I'm now in the lab 06. So I'll click on the template file. I'll open it. If you look carefully, you notice that these informations are easy for you to read and amend. For example, here's a parameter information for virtual machine 0, this virtual machine 1, virtual machine 2, this VNet, and so on and so forth. So I'll click save. Next is the parameter. So I'll click edit parameter, and I'll go back to the load file, and I will load the parameter. This is the parameter, and I will click save. Now, the only thing I need to do here now is to confirm the information. For example, the subscription, then the resource group. Do I have any resource group? No. So I'm going to create a new resource group. I'll call it AZ-104-RG6. Then I'll click OK. So that's the resource group. Then the region is going to be East US. That's where all the resources will be deployed to. And for the password, that's the password for the resources. That is the one that need password there. So I'm going to provide a password. So in your own, try and provide your own password. Then after this, I will click review plus create. So this is going to cross-check everything that I supplied, and is going to determine if they are in good order. Right now, if you take note, is running the final validation, and once that is ready, I will have the opportunity to click the create button. Right now, I cannot click the create button because the final validation is still running. So I will pause this video and I'll be back once that is ready. Oh, it's even ready. So I'll click create, and it's initializing the deployment now. So this will take a few minutes, maybe a minute or two, and it will tell you that the deployment is ready. So I will pause this video and I'll be back once the deployment is ready. Now the deployment is complete. Based on what I noticed, this took around 5 to 7 minutes. So approximately you should expect at least 5 minutes. Whenever you are deploying your own template, that is this particular template. So I'll go to the resource group now, and let's go and check what we deployed through the template. For it to be more clearer, I'm going to click on the start bar and I will look for the whiteboard, because I want to use the whiteboard to explain. Like I said earlier, one virtual network will be deployed. 3 subnets will be deployed inside that virtual network, and each of the subnets will have its own virtual machine. So let's go ahead and search for those information, and let's confirm if those information are actually there. This is the network security group. This is the network interfaces for each of those virtual machine. This is one of the virtual machine 0, and this is its own disk. This is virtual machine 1, this is its own disk. This is virtual machine 2, this is its own disk. This is what? The virtual network. So let me click on the virtual network first. Let's start looking at it from that end. This is a virtual network. That is my AZ-104-06-VNet1. Now, let me go back to the whiteboard and let me draw this. So I'm going to draw the virtual network. Then I'm going to give it a proper name. What's the name again? AZ-104 hyphen, let me confirm the name again. AZ-104-06-VNet1. That is the virtual network. Now, this virtual network, let's go and check the subnet. So under the settings, I will go to the subnet, and how many subnets can we see now? 3. Subnet 0, subnet 1, subnet 2. Like I said before now, I've actually uploaded videos on how to do some of these things on your own, so that by the time we get to a situation like this that we are using template to load something like this, you won't be strange to use. But if you're a bit strange to how we arrive at some of these things, please go and watch those videos. Watch the AZ-900 videos fully. I have like 22 videos on the demonstrations relating to AZ-900, and as at now, I have up to 6 videos on the AZ-104. Go and watch those videos. By the time you watch those videos and you understood them, all of these things that we are doing now in terms of setting up this infrastructure will be so clear to you. So I'm going to draw this subnet. So I have so this is 1, this is 2, and that is going to be 3. So this is going to be subnet 0. Next is going to be subnet 1. then subnet 2. Now, that is it about the subnets. Now, let's go and see, do we have virtual machines deployed? Let's cross check. So we are supposed to see 3 virtual machines: virtual machine 0, 1, and 2. But what I want to confirm now is the virtual machine, or each of these virtual machines, are they linked to the VNet? And if they are linked to the VNet, which of the subnets are they linked to? So I'll click virtual machine 0 to confirm which subnet, if at all, is linked to any of the VNets. So here's the virtual machine 0. As you can see, there's a lot of information about this virtual machine 0. Like you can see the name, the size, and a whole lot of other things about this virtual machine 0. This is the IP address. This is the disk information, and so on. But I'm actually looking at the networking. Yes, that's where we want to check. So I want to check the network settings of this virtual machine. So I'll click on the network settings. So from here, I will see any networking information or settings about this virtual machine. So okay, here's the VNet. Yes, VNet subnet what? 0. It simply means that here I have a virtual machine. Then the name of the virtual machine is what's the name again? Yes, AZ-104 -06 VM0. AZ-104 -06 VM0. Let's look at the second virtual machine. If you look at it, it's on what? On the subnet 1. So I'll come here. Z104 -06 VM1. And next, that is the final VM that I want to check, is the VM2. Definitely that one will be on the subnet 2. -06 VM2. Then that's it. So the issue of the VNet and the virtual machine is sorted out. You can see the diagram now. Now let's go back to Portal. The Azure Portal also shows through the resource group that there's another very important resources. That's a network security group. So I want to go and look for that network security group. Network security group. That's NSG1. So I'll click on the NSG1. If you look at the NSG1, you can see there are default rules. Default rules. Look at the default rules. Then they also have custom rules. Like for instance, this is to allow RDP 3389. You can see it was a custom rule. This is to allow HTTP port what? Port 80. At the back here, I'm going to draw the NSG. So here is it. And there are two ports, right? Inbound and outbound. There are other ones, but let me just make provision for the inbound and outbound. So this is going to be the AZ-104 -06 NSG1. Then for the NSG1, I will use what's the name of the inbound. We have the inbound rule. We also have the outbound. But majorly the rule that we want to just put there is the default allow DP and default allow HTTP, which is only for this inbound. So allow RDP, that's one of the rule configured there. Allow HTTP. Okay, so then the next thing that we'll do now is to go to the go back now to the same place. So I haven't seen all the infrastructure, and now the infrastructures are now set up. It's time for us now to go ahead and start our configuration. So the first configuration I will do is to configure the load balancer, and that will take us to the task 2. So in the task 2, I'm going to implement an Azure load balancer in front of two Azure virtual machines in the virtual network. Load balancers in Azure provides layer 4 connectivity across resources such as virtual machines. Load balancer configuration include a front-end IP address to accept connections, a back-end pool, and rules that defines how connections should traverse the load balancer. So how do we go about this? I will look for load balancer. Here is the load balancer. I will click on the load balancer, and in the load balancer, I will click the create button, and now in the create button, I'm going to fill the necessary information. For example, the resource group is going to be in the same resource group. The name of the load balancer is going to be AZ-104 LB. LB, that will stand for the load balancer. The region will be the same region where we deploy our VMs, that is the East US. The SKU, I'm going to use standard so that I can distribute traffic to backend resources. Know very well. I'm going to select public, under the type of the load balancer, and the tier is going to be the regional one. Then on the then I will click this button, front end configuration. Now on the front end IP configuration, I need to set the front end configuration. Now what the front end configuration will do is that that is what the user will see. Like it's going to contain like the IP address that you're going to give to the users. So that is where the configuration will take place. So this is the front end IP configuration. So what I will do now is that I'm going to add a front end IP address, and I'm going to allow the Azure to give it a front end IP address, but I'll only give it a name. Is at 104-FE, and for the type is going to be, for the IP version rather, IP version will be version 4, leave it, type will be IP address, and the gateway load balancer is going to be none. Yes, and public IP, you can say the public IP, I'm going to click create new. So I want to name a public IP. So AZ 104 LB, that is load balancer public IP. Then the assignment is going to be static, and the SKU will be standard, tier will be regional. Then if that information is okay, I'll just click save. That's it. So Azure is going to assign a public IP here. That's what it simply means now. Now, the next thing that I will do now is that I will save this. Here is it, the front-end IP address. Then I'll move to the backend pool. The backend pool now is where I will link the virtual machines that will be part of this load balancer. There are two virtual machines that I will load in this case, VM0 and VM1. Two of them are in the same virtual network. So I'll click on add backend pool, and I'll give it a name, AZ-104-BE. Then I'll click this to select what? The VNet. And on the backend pool configuration, is going to be network interface card. Then now IP configuration. Under this IP configuration now, what I will do now is to click add. I want to add the backend pool. Like I said, two virtual machines will form the backend, right? So I have virtual machine 0, virtual machine 1. Those are the two. So I will select the checkbox in front of the 0 and virtual machine 1, and I will click add. That will bring virtual machine 0 and 1 into the back end pool. And what have I achieved so far? Let me go to this place to draw it. So what I've achieved so far is that I've created a load balancer. So here's the load balancer. So the load balancer, the name of the load balancer in question is going to be AZ-104 AZ-104-LB. Now I have this. That's a load balancer, right? Now the load balancer is going to have a backend pool. And what is the things we have in the backend pool? The backend pool is the what? VM0 and VM1. That's the backend pool for the load balancer. That's what I've done so far. Now, I haven't done this. I'll click save. Then you can see this is the backend pool. Remember, I've done the front end IP. You remember the front end IP is what? AZ-104FE. So let me go and put it there. So I have AZ-104 104-FE. So we're going to see a proper IP address later anyway. So now I'll click review plus create. So it's running the final validation now. And now it's deploying the load balancer. So deployment is in progress. So I'll pause this video and I'll be back once the deployment is completed. The deployment is completed. I will click on this button, go to resource now. Now, what I need to do now is this. Because I have added the load balancer and I've set this is the backend pool, virtual machine 1 and 0, right? And we have also set the front-end IP address. So Azure is going to give that one to us. There's one more thing that we need to set, and that is the rule that will determine how the load balancer will distribute load. So that will take me to the settings of the load balancer, and I will click on the load balancer rules. So in the load balancer rules, I will click add, and I'm going to give this load balancer rule a name, AZ-104-LB. That's the load balancer, and that's LB rule. Then the IP version is going to be 4, definitely, and the front end IP address is going to be this. You can see now. So I've linked the front end IP address what to the rule. It simply means that when they type that IP address, look at the IP address now. So that's what 128.203.120.19. That's the front end IP address given to us. So let's come back here and type it. 128.203 128.203.120.91. That is the front end IP address. That's it. So now the next thing now is the backend pool. The backend pool is what? This one. So what I've done in the rule now is to select the front end IP address and select the backend pool. So I've linked two of them now. And the protocol is TCP. The port is going to be port 80 because it's going to be a web kind of thing. The backend pool port also will still be port 80. Now the next one is the health probe. I'll put my cursor here. Let's look at this together. The selected probe is used by this rule to determine which virtual machine in the backend pool are healthy and can receive load balance traffic. So it's for us to now determine when will a backend pool LD, right? That's what it's saying. That's the virtual machine. When can we say it's LD for it to be able to handle request? So for this, I will call it AZ-104-HP. That's health probe. The protocol is TCP. The port is 80. The interval is 5 seconds. What does that mean? At every 5 seconds, you'll be checking if that virtual machine is what is available. That's to determine if it is okay. So again, the interval is what? The amount of time between probe attempts. Yes, amount of time between probe attempts. And I'll click save. Then on the session persistence is showing on the idle timeout. So the idle timeout will be like that. For on the TCP reset, I will disable. You can say enable TCP reset. I won't check it. Enable floating IP. I will not check it. They remain disabled. I have nothing to do with that one for now. On the outbound source network address, that's SNAT, I will leave it recommended. Then what I will do is to do what? To save. So it's saving the load balancer rule now. I've saved the load balancer rule. Now, assume that you do not copy the front-end IP address that time. If you come to the front-end IP configuration, you will be able to see the front-end IP address. Although we've copied it, you can see 128.203.120.19. So let me just click on this clipboard here. Now, I'm going to open another browser tab. Let me close this. Let me open another one. And I will put the IP address there. One two eight dot 208.120.19. What's it saying? Hello world from AZ-104.06 VM0. Yes, it's reading something from the VM0. So VM0 is the one that is taking care of this load. Now, if I refresh the browser, will it display VM1? It's still giving me VM0. Okay, let me do it this way. Let me copy it to look at it here. I use another browser to check the same IP address. It said what? Hello world from what? Is a 104 VM1. This is to show that the load balancer is actually working, is rotating loads. This is another request. That was a request. So it's working and is rotating loads among the two virtual machine. Now let's talk about the application gateway. So again, look at the diagram. You can see now, these two are the one making provision for what? For this load balancer. Going to the application gateway now, I will go back to this place. Now, that's task 3. I'm going to configure an application gateway. In this task, we are going to implement an Azure application gateway in front of 2 Azure virtual machines. An application gateway provides layer 7 load balancer, web application firewall, SSL termination, and end-to-end encryption to resources defined in a backend pool. The application gateway routes images to one virtual machine and videos to the other virtual machine. So the first thing I will do is that I'm going to go to my virtual network, and inside the virtual network, I will click on the VNet1 virtual network, and then I'll go to the settings. Under the settings in the subnets, I'm going to add a new subnet. I will tell you the reason later. The name is subnet -appgw, and the start address is going to be 10.60.3.224. I'm going to use 224, and the size is going to be /27. Then I will click add to save it. So it's adding the subnets now. Successfully added subnets. Here's the subnet. Now, this subnet will be used by the Azure Application Gateway. The application gateway requires a dedicated subnet of /27 or a larger size. So that is why I have to create that's why I have to create this one. You can see the other ones that are there are of /24. So I'll go to the application gateway now. Here's the application gateway. So I'm going to create a new application gateway. So for the application gateway, the resource group will be this. The application gateway name will be AZ-104-RG6. Sorry, -APPGW. That's application gateway. Then the region will be East US. That's where I have my virtual machine, and that's where I deploy the other tasks into. The tier will be standard V2. I'll leave it like that. The auto scaling, to enable auto scaling, no, I don't want to implement auto scaling, so I will leave it at no. Then it said interface counts. Then it said what? Instance counts. I'll leave it 2. That is the minimum instance that we can use for application gateway. That is, you need at least 2 virtual machines in this scenario. On the availability zone, it's going to be just 1. Just 1. On the HTTP2, it will be disabled. I want just the HTTP. The virtual network will be the VNet1. And the subnet that I'm going to use will be the subnet I created. That's a appgw, the one of /27. Then I'll click next to the front end. Now, in the front end, I'm going to specify the following settings. One, the front end IP address type is going to be public. Oh, I've clicked this thing twice. Okay. The front end IP address is going to be public. The public IP address, I'm going to add a new public IP address. That will be AZ-104 hyphen GWPIP. Then I'll click OK. Then for the I think that's what I need to set. Yeah, that's what I need to set. So I'll click on the next backend. Okay, it said application gateway. Something is wrong with it. It said application gateway need at least one valid backend. Okay, so we are in the backend now, and I'm going to click add backend pool. In the backend pool, I will say AZ-104 hyphen appgwbe, and it should be no. That's a add application pool without targets. I'll leave it like that. Virtual machine. Now for the virtual machine, I'm going to click virtual machine. Which virtual machine will I pick here? It's going to be network interface 1. Network interface 1 is for what? Virtual machine 1. That's what I'll pick. I'll pick the second one. Network interface 2. So what I've done so far, let's go back to the diagram first. Let's look at it so that it'll be more clearer. You look at see what has this man done again now? I don't understand though. So this is the application gateway, right? Now in the application gateway, what was the name again? That should be that's AZ-104 hyphen appgw. Then the front end IP address. Do you remember the name we called the front end IP address? I call it AZ-104 hyphen GWPIP. That's the front end IP address that I use. That's the name rather. So we're going to get the IP address later. Once the Azure give us the IP address, I will come back and write it there. Now for the backend pool, what happened here is this. I've selected the okay, let me use this green. I've selected the one for the NIC1 and NIC2. It simply means that this one and this one are the one that is providing backend for the application gateway. So let's go back. So I'll click save. Then I'm going to go back to add backend pool again. This is the default one. Now there's another backend pool. This one is going to be for the images. So when this person will need for the images, what will he do? because this backend pool now, the default backend pool now is to make sure that it's going to the two virtual machine, right? The one and virtual machine two. But let's talk about if the person now requests for an image. So we're going to have his own backend pool separate. So I'll call it AZ-104, AZ-104 hyphen IMAGE, that's image BE. And for the target, it will be what? NIC, it will be NIC1. Then I'll click add. So it simply means now that I now have another, what's it called? I now have another application, another backend pool. You know, what was the name of that? Yes, I have three backend pools now. This. Okay, let me create the third one. The third one now is the one for the image. To now be AZ-104 hyphen video B, and this, and I'll pick NIC2 and I'll click add. So now what do we have? We have three backend pool. The first one is the major backend pool that take care of the two virtual machines. We now set for the second backend pool, that's for the image, and the third backend pool is for the what? Is for the video. Then I'll go to the configuration, and in the configuration, that's when I will now implement the rule. So what I will do here is to click on the add routing rule now, and for the routing rule, so in the routing rule, I'll call it AZ-104 GW, right? GW rule, and the priority will be 10. And for the listener name will be AZ-104 listener. So what's the purpose of the listener? Let's look at it. The listener listens on a specific port and IP address to traffic that uses a specific protocol. Then that's the listener. Then on the front end IP address, it will be this. On the protocol, it will be HTTP. The port will be port 80 and the listener will be basic. I'll come to the backend. The backend target is going to be what? This one, APGWB. And for the backend settings, it will be AZ-104 HTTP. That's just the name I will use for the backend settings. Okay, I think it's saying the cannot be unique, right? Have I used it before? Okay, let me just say HTTP1. Now, if you come down here, you see this said add multiple targets to create a path, right? Now, if you remember earlier, in our backend pool, we have a backend pool for the two virtual machines, right? We have one for video. We also have another one for image. So for the routing route, so we also need to do something like that for that one too. So I'll click on this one. Now the first part that I'm going to create is the one for the image. So I will say /image. That's going to be the part name. Image / asterisk. And the target name, I'll just call it the images. Not there. Images. And the backend settings, it's going to be this one, but that's the last one I use. And the backend target will be what? This one. the image be. Yes, that's a backend pull for the image. Then I will do what? I'll add. Then I'll go back and click on it again. I need to do the one for the videos. So I'll say video slash asterisk, and here will be videos, and here I'll still use this, and backend target will be what? With the video B. Then I'll click what? I'll click add. Now that I have all of this, then I can now save the rule. I'll click add. Here is the rule. Now I'll move to the next tag until I see review plus create. So I'll move to review plus create now. Then I'll click create now. Now this one will take a while, like 5 to 10 minutes. So I have to wait for the application group instance to be created. So while you are waiting, you can review some of the things we have done. Like for instance, this is our application gateway. And remember, we have this is the front end IP address. And remember, in this front end IP address, we also have another part slash video and slash image. So we are going to wait for like 5 to 10 minutes. Like I said, it said deployment is in progress, right? But it's going to take a while. Minimum is 5 minutes. So I'll pause this video and I'll be back once the application gateway is ready. So I'm going to look for the application gateway because okay, let me just click on the go to resource. From this resource group, I can see the application gateway, right? Or better still, this is it, right? Okay, this is application gateway. So I'll click on the application gateway. What I want to get is the IP address. You know, I couldn't get the IP address the other time. I didn't check anyway. I only wrote the name down. So I'm looking for the public IP address. Definitely we are going to get that. Look at the front end public IP address. Do you see it? Yes, that's it. 20.102.112.45. 20.102.112. What? Dot 25, right? Dot 45. That's it. That's the IP address. Okay, I'm coming back here now. Now, if you go to the monitoring section, just want to show you one or two things. If you select if I select the backend health, just to check the health status of this application gateway. So the two servers want to see if they're in good condition. So it's loading. So we'll give a few minutes to finish that. You see what? LD, LD. So that is what? That's LD. I'm going to open I'm going to go back to the overview. I didn't copy the IP address at that time. So I'm going to click on the public IP address and that's the front end IP address, and I'll copy to clipboard. Then I'll go here. The IP address that I need. Then I will say /image. Let me see what it will give me. Look at it, image from what? VM1. If I say /video, it should be telling me that it's from the VM2. Remember, that's what we configured. Yes, it's from the VM2. This is the purpose of the application gateway. So, what have we done so far in this lab? In this lab, we use a template to create our infrastructure. So that template created an NSG for us with two rules that allow RDP and HTTP. And it also created one virtual network. And in that virtual network, we have three subnets. And each of the subnets contain a virtual machine each. That's the virtual machine 0, 1, and 2. So moving to the task 2 now, we now configure the load balancer. And the load balancing, we have this front-end IP address to load balance requests between these two virtual machines. And in task 3, we configure application gateway. That's a path base, basically. So that when somebody type this IP address, for instance, and you put /image, it should go to this virtual machine because that's what we configured for the image. And if somebody types /video, it would go to this virtual machine because that's what we configure for the video. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing to this channel. Please, let me know what you think in the comment section. And do not forget to leave a like and share this video. See you in the next one.